should at some point talk, but let's, okay, I think now we are good. So, good afternoon, Suzy Hakimian. I'm sorry, I did not pronounce well your name, but it's really a delight to have you here on the UMAC YouTube channel in a double capacity. So you will be talking to us about, in your capacity as Chair of ICOM-Lebanon, but also in your capacity of Director of the MIM, the Museum of Mineralogy of the University of Saint Joseph. We also want to know about, obviously, about university museums in Beirut. So we thank you so much, first of all, for agreeing to have this conversation with me. And I'm very curious about what is the mood, the atmosphere, how are things going for the citizens of Beirut at this point? Is it situation is better? Do people have shelter? Are the immediate needs already provided for? How is it going at the moment?
Well, first, thank you for integrating me in this world of technology, talking from far and being so close to you, and you are very close to us this way. Well, the situation is quite complicated, you know, and in fact, as you said, there's so many people who are without shelter. So, I mean, the number of houses which were damaged by the blast is incredible. We have almost 30,000 houses which are damaged. So you can imagine where are the needs? The first needs are to relocate them or to help them restore their houses. We should help them in their needs, you know. And the society is wonderful. Everybody's working with everybody, trying to find a way to help them in their daily life, cleaning with them. Maybe you've seen these pictures everywhere that everybody was concerned, but you are heartbroken. This is true. It's very difficult. The situation is very difficult for us because we've been living in this violence so long, and we thought that it was over, and now it's back again. And this is the worst part of it.
Yeah, I was so impressed by the generosity. You know, I've never been to Lebanon and to Beirut, unfortunately. I hope to be with you one day soon, maybe sooner than later, because maybe this tragedy creates an opportunity for UMAC and to organize something in Beirut. We're thinking about that. But my first impression was of an incredible engagement, generosity, and solidarity of everyone in face of the disaster. I think that's precisely what you're saying. I mean, the way that Gilbert, Nicolas, and all the colleagues, the young professionals mobilized immediately. You know, it's my direct experience. And from what we have seen on television, it has been amazing, the amount of
this is why I want to say, I mean, also we felt very cherished because you were also there for us from outside. I mean, Elsa, it is very from ICOM-Lebanon was here in Beirut 3 days after the blast, and then Karl von Habsburg from Blue Shield International came also to Beirut last week. They visited with us and saw the damages, and we're collaborating completely in this field. In fact, what we tried to do from the beginning is to unify our efforts. You know that the problem every time that you have something like this, a big problem or catastrophe, the worst part is you see all the efforts and everybody will do something in his part, and this is not good. We try, so for the museums, we try to work under the umbrella of Blue Sheet International.
Exactly. Yeah, let's get also a picture, because you're right. I mean, in the first moment, it's always very good to have the capacity, the mobilization, and so on. But at some point, if you want to be effective, you have to channel the efforts, channel the funds, channel the energy of the people. And so tell us a little bit of how, how are things organized? So there was all this mobilization internationally. We, UMAC, were very involved. There were more people involved. Elsa Ortiz Verea also, as you say, and I will put some link for our viewers because there was also a conversation between me and her, and I will put a link so that people can see. So there was this international mobilization. Tell us, paint us a picture of what is happening at the moment for people who don't know, and how are the efforts being channeled.
In fact, we considered that it was very important to damage to have an inventory of the damage. But we said that we were not alone. We had to unify all the cultural institutions together. So we had museums, we had libraries and archives, we had also the houses, and we considered that you had to work together and to find a way to have one platform to give all the info about the damages.
Yes.
So we worked with Gilbert, was part of this team, to work on the sheet template, and we created this digitalized platform. This is what is very important in the thing. So the teams are on the ground. They have almost finished inventorying the damages in the museums, and I'm very happy to say this.
Incredible. So, wonderful.
We will have all the damages in the museums, and then we will start. In a second stage, I could make a financial estimation of the damages. To start at that one, talking in a positive way, I mean, in a precise way with all the donors.
Yes.
And considering that, I have to say it also, I'm very happy in a way to say that the damages were more structural, more mechanical in the museums.
In the buildings, right? It's more the buildings and the structure than the collections itself.
We have 8 museums which were damaged by the blast. One of them is situated 10 kilometers far from the site, of the explosion.
The impact.
Imagine how was the impact of the explosion was very big. So, but the museum, the Sirsuk Museum, is very badly damaged.
Yes.
Everybody have seen the picture. You have also the AUB, the Archaeological Museum of the American University of Beirut, and one of the showcases fell on the ground, and they have lost glass vessels. But for the rest, you can consider that it is a miracle.
Yeah,
that the
it is incredible. Yes, yes.
The Museum, the Geology Museum, the Discovery Planet. So I'm listing the museum which are damaged, were in a way preserved in their collection.
Right.
We will be able really, but you see that the needs, as you were telling me, are to secure them. So we have to secure the buildings. The first aid that we need to give.
At this point, everything is secure or not? Everything is secure.
Yes, I can say it is. The collections are secured. No, it shouldn't be afraid about this. The Prehistory Museum is working on even removing the objects from the showcases, to let the worker come and fix the place. And from this point of view, I can say that proudly that we have also people who are competent to do the job. Absolutely. And this is very important, very important. From the curator to the architects to all the teams who are working on the ground, they know what to do, they know how to do. But we need to be helped financially.
So at this point, we're finishing the assessment stage, the evaluating, the impact of the damages in the museums, collections, and archives, and all this is being done under your coordination, the coordination of ICOM-Lebanon, right? Or
it's under the coordination of Blue Shield International. And on the board of the Blue Shield Lebanon, we are represented by the president of ICOM, ICOMOS, IFLA, ICA. So everybody is there. And for the first part of the let's say the assessment, we are under Blue Shield, and then we will start maybe on a later second phase. We will be working with our institution.
Yeah, and so this first stage, how many museums? You mentioned 8. So 8. Those 8 are the museums which are in more need, right? The ones that are going to need more substantial reparation, rebuilding, refunding of the structures. Is that it? 8 museums?
It's true. It's true because we have also to not to forget that on the 13th of March, we went into a confinement.
I
Museums
know.
had to close the doors. So
Yeah.
we opened on, let's say, end of June, had 1 month, if
Yeah.
you can say it, regular situation. And then we they got the blast. So you can imagine that the museum and 6 of the 8 museums are private museums. So they live with their own funds. They are not helped by, let's say, government institution. Only the Beirut National Museum and the Sursok Museum, the Beirut National Museum is a public museum or governmental museum.
Right.
The Sursok Museum is a semi-public, half public. It belongs to the municipality of Beirut. So these museums have to survive also, you know, in a way they will have to repair from their own funds, which are already very, very on a very low level, you see. And this is why we have to help them. These museums have to survive. They have to stay.
So
otherwise, we will lose them.
So the museums, in fact, I didn't know that. So the museums were reopened in June after the COVID.
Last week of June.
Last week of June.
Between the 20th of June and the end of June.
And of course, like for example, here in Portugal and so on, people are not yet, visitors are not yet confident to go to museums. And so there's very low visitation, meaning low numbers, meaning low income for those museums who depend on the visitors through the door. So museums were already in crisis, so to speak.
Yes, voilà, this is what I was trying to say, exactly. That we have already problems in these museums.
Yeah.
And now the blast is something that really is unbearable for most of them, because they will have to deal both. They will have to repair.
Of course.
And so they will need more money. And they were, as you said, they had low income for 1 month at least, or for
of course.
closed anyway for half of the time.
Yeah. And okay, so more or less 8 museums. How many of those are private? So of the 8, how many you say?
6 of them are private museums.
6 of them are
and
private.
2 are belong to the government.
So it's the national.
The National Museum, Beirut National Museum,
and the other one,
the Sursok Museum.
Sursok Museum. So those, the other ones, is university museums, and they belong to.
You have the Beirut. The AUB Museum is a university museum.
Yeah.
The Pre-History Museum is a university museum also. Then we have the Discovery Planet, which is the more private, belongs to a company. We are also located at the St. Joseph University on campus, but the collection belongs to the founder of the museum. And we still have also the Geology Museum at AUB, which are also, this is a university collection.
Yeah. So in fact, there is a large number of university museums that were impacted because they were close to the explosion. Your museum in particular was also close to the explosion, right?
It's close, but still we were just wondering how come, because we have a hill between the blast site, and then we have a hill, and then we come here. And in fact, this is what is sometimes, everybody says, but why was I touched by the blast? I was not on the directly on the impact, but we were touched, but happily not so much. We lost the door, we lost 2 doors, but the collection is preserved.
Well, it depends very much on the structures and the way the construction, the quality of the construction too, right?
This is very important because we are really very hard, because you know that we are a museum of minerals. We have a lot of diamonds and jewelry.
A break, okay? A break about the explosion. Tell us a little bit more about your museum, about the Museum of Mineralogy.
Well,
tell us a little bit more about
the museum is a small museum. Maybe it has a private collection. This collection is not that big. We have 2,000 specimens. But what is important about it is that this is the second most important private collection in the world because of the quality and the rarity of the specimen.
of the
Salim
specimen.
Eddi, who founded the museum or started with this collection, and he decided one day to open a museum. He said, what am I doing by myself with my collection? I will
Wow,
look at it alone. It's not that good, so I want to share it with the
wow,
world. And
wow.
this is why he decided to create a museum. Not many collectors have this kind
No,
of,
in fact,
of
yeah,
idea.
you're right, you're right, you're right. But minerals are from all over the world,
Yes,
or
they come from
mostly.
all over the world, from more than 70 countries.
Wow.
Lebanon is not a mineral country.
No, but it's a
People
fossil.
don't.
Very good fossils come from
Yeah, yes. And
paleontology.
this is why we have a section dedicated to paleontology. We opened it 2 years ago.
Yeah,
We exhibit the most important private collection of of fossils in Lebanon. And the
yeah,
MIM has started acquiring also fossils. We
yeah.
have pterodactyl. We use the interactivity in showing all this world of fossils.
I've seen fossils from Lebanon in museums all over the world. You know, in the
Yeah,
UK, in Paris, in the US. Very good quality fossils. Very good
very good
material.
quality.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
true. And we have a big variety of fish,
Yeah, I
although it
know.
is
Yeah, it's
sometimes
the
very dense.
famous. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
famous. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's fantastic. One of the things that I asked Gilbert, you know, because I didn't know, okay, is there a paleontology museum where there's also lots of material from Lebanon and so on? One of the first things I asked Gilbert, where are the fossils of Lebanon? You know,
And then
are
he
they
said that
destroyed? Are they okay? Are they okay? You know, but this is the, you know, my training as you know, as and my job as the director of a natural history museum. So I thought about that. I
you're
knew that.
sure you should come to Lebanon. We will be
Yeah, I
waiting for
must.
you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I also, you know what I want for my botanic garden? The University of Lisbon. I want a cedar from Lebanon, you know.
Cedar
I
from
would like
Lebanon, yeah.
to have this. I asked my curators here, and we don't have any plant from native from Lebanon. And so when I go there, I'm
We
going to bring,
will try to find
yeah,
a way.
yeah. But
So
anyway, back to the explosion.
back to the explosion.
And so all this mobilization is happening. We are at the stage of evaluating, and then there will be the reconstruction, and I'm sure there will be funds coming also from international organizations. I think that that is already being organized, and people can also help. I have asked Elsa in her conversation with me, if there is, because I receive emails sometimes of people who want to make donations. Okay, is there a place where we can, reliable, credible, maybe ICOM-Lebanon, I don't know, where people can make donations to help the reconstruction of the cultural heritage of Lebanon, of Beirut in particular? Is there such a thing?
There's a new initiative which started 2 days ago. It's called Beirut Heritage Initiative,
Okay.
which belongs to the foundation, the National Foundation of
Okay.
Lebanon. And this
Okay.
foundation is a little, I mean, has a long history because they worked on the reconstruction of the Beirut National Museum after the war.
Right.
So they were. It seems that we will have the possibility to send
Yeah.
the donors
Okay.
could send.
That's
Now
good.
we could also find other ways. I mean, it depends on, sometimes, you know, you have a donor who wants to work directly with the institution.
Yeah, of
There's
course.
no problem. We are ready to give all the contacts and
Yeah,
help
but
all
I
this.
was not. I was not thinking of big donors because I think that okay, it's easier because they
Yeah,
go directly to Blue Shield, the
yeah,
ICOM, you know, whatever. But I was thinking of the small donor, you know, people who UMAC members even who want to donate something to contribute. You know, if there's that possibility, then let me know and I will disseminate the information through our members, because I think some of them are willing to want what they've asked me. So that's a good thing. After this evaluation, after this evaluation, there will be a long period. It's not going to be 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. There will be a long period of reconstruction. It would be nice if some of the more structural problems of museums, if you know, this creates an opportunity also to solve them, because instead of just spending money, you know, just like that, trying to have a strategic, a way to go, you know, more national, and Maureen, is there a plan, a kind of a master plan for how the reconstruction will be done, and what are the priorities? Is there any ideas about that at the moment, or is it too soon?
I think all the efforts go in the way that you are talking about. It's not, you know, it's like also a little bit maybe not too early, but I mean we should work on this to reach this point where we would have also this an idea of what happened. But anyway, maybe this will help us also to train people for these emergency situation. Although a blast is something which is not common. I mean, usually you talk about floods, you talk about other disaster that could hit a museum. It's a collateral damage because of a conflict, but talking about a blast is something different. And
yeah, but there's similarities in a way with earthquakes, for example. And there are earthquakes in many parts of the world because it's when there's crumbling of buildings. And so there is indeed an expertise that can be gained, like Brazil, unfortunately, because of the tragedy. They are now the largest experts in the world, the biggest experts in the world in first response to fires in cultural heritage, which is kind of tragic, but they are, because they had to deal with the fire. They had to deal with the aftermath of, you know, burnt collections and so on. So I think this could be, although there will be not explosions as such, but there will be earthquakes and there will be wars. There will, you know, unfortunately, there will always be wars in places where there's cultural heritage. So I think that Lebanon could really play a role, a leading role in the, if you organize the expertise, right? The information and the knowledge acquired.
well, this is why this experience of training, you know, these young people, architects, and even we have also professors from university who are now working with the teams. So this is a very good experience. We tried at ICOM-Lebanon. We had some training also for emergency plans. You know,
yeah,
it's very difficult. It's not that easy. You know, when you ask the curator, do you have an insurance? He would say, what for? Or I don't need it, or I don't have enough money for this. And this is very important. It's a mentality that you have, a structure that you have to put in the head of somebody to let it say it's not, this will happen with the neighbor, it will never happen to me. So this is a long time so working on this kind of mentality, I think.
Yes, it's a culture. It's a culture of, you know, and it's difficult to change, but you are in a position of making change, you know, because people went through it, and it's like, you know, now it's going to be different, and hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, this will also, we have to talk about it. I think that we need professionalism. This is what people usually don't understand. Say, it's easy to be the director of a museum. It's not easy to be the director of a museum. I mean, it's not like financing or something different. I'm not saying that it's easy to be in finance, but I'm saying that you have a different way of thinking or working or even thinking about training. This is you know, museums today are like big enterprises. They are not these small buildings where you can find a collector, or you find a collection, or you find a specialist who is sitting in his office not really dealing with the rest of the world. We are inside the world now.
Yeah, we are inside the world, and our first responsibility is towards the heritage that we preserve for future generations. And so we have a responsibility, the obligation to be prepared, you know, for flooding, wars, damage, earthquakes, fires. We have to be prepared. Our staff needs to be trained and well prepared. And of course, we always, you know, saying, "Oh, I hope that the tragedy doesn't hit it." But if it hits us, then we need to be prepared. We cannot just, you know, what are we going to do, you know? So I think that the example of Beirut, especially in museums and ICOM-Lebanon, with your leadership, I think it's very important, especially because you have the engagement of this incredible number of young professionals, you know, and they are really, as you say, very engaged, very motivated. What are your plans about how to proceed, okay, so there's going to be these stages of reconstruction, but how can ICOM-Lebanon, or in general, Lebanon, appropriate, and use this expertise for the benefit of the cultural Lebanon, the cultural heritage of the country, in your view?
We hope. We are here to give our expertise to the others, because museums, as you said, are more maybe prepared to this kind of situation than people living in houses or so we are ready. Well, once we finish in a way to take care about our institutions, we are ready to put everything. I mean, I can imagine that Blue Shield.
Yeah.
After a certain while, and this is, I proposed this as an idea. I said maybe we could have something like a big workshop on ground zero where everything happened, and there we will have skills. So
yes.
we will bring the people working, let's say the wood, people working, and they will help the people on site to repair what was damaged during the blast.
UMAC supports that, absolutely, in public, okay? YouTube, those are watching, UMAC supports that, very important. Workshops specialized in different types of materials, conservation, and so on. Designing buildings for tragedies, for emergencies, there's all a huge expertise in that, sustainability and so on. So that's a very important thing to engage, continue to engage and motivate, and all these mass of young professionals that are so good and so, dedicated and competent. And another thing that I would ask, I think I've asked you all the questions that I wanted to ask you. No, university museums, okay? So I would like to know a little bit more about the situation, given that you're a director of a university museum or a private museum inside the university campus, better said. What is the situation of university museums in Beirut and in Lebanon in general? So they were usually what happens usually is that the collections were gathered for purposes of teaching and research, most of them. Of course, there are the private ones, like, the one that you mentioned. But and sometimes they have difficulties also in updating, their purposes to contemporary higher education and also to contemporary museum world, and expertise. So sometimes they have difficulties, and they are between these two worlds, and it's difficult. They have issues of identity sometimes. What is the situation in before the explosion in general, so that we have an overview? Because we don't have members in UMAC members. We don't have UMAC members in Lebanon.
In fact, you're absolutely right in this approach. I mean, they have a long tradition, usually, university museums. And the one of AUB is really has almost 100 and more than 100 years. Yes. At the St. Joseph University, it's the collection that the Jesuits gathered in the fourth prehistory. And as you said, in fact, the problem is that sometimes they become just a study collection, and they don't go further. They don't think about the public. They sometimes they are closed during the summer. In fact, you have to be opened during the summer because you have the tourists coming to Lebanon, or during the weekend. So this is also, as you said, we have to work on this kind of also not a mentality, but I mean, these are the administration rules that they have. So they have sometimes to put themselves outside the university, maybe to be more open to the world. And you said, and also they have to integrate the new ways of exhibiting, because, maybe students are used to see the collection only as a study collection. They should look at it as differently.
And for many years, they didn't have professional, or in other words,
sometimes you had a professor only taking care about the museum.
And they didn't have staff and so on. So there is it's getting better, but sometimes there are issues of, fitting inside the university and inside the for many reasons, of course, historical and but also financial, because most universities in the world, they are paid. They are paid by governments or paid by, donors. to do for the first and second mission, so teaching and research, not necessarily for the third mission, which is the production of knowledge to society. And so that creates sometimes a problem. But is there a national network? As university museums in Lebanon been organized? No.
No, not to Mana. They belong to ICOM for some of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And in fact, so from everybody is moving inside ICOM Lebanon, and we're trying to bring them to ICOM Lebanon. You know, it's also some of them are not affiliated to ICOM. We have some museums which are not in ICOM Lebanon, but hopefully, so more and more we have. You know, we are a small country. Yeah. We have also, but the number of museums is increasing, you know, and this is why.
How many museums in total?
We can talk about, I mean, for me, it depends on what you mean by museum. Some institutions would call themselves museums without being a real museum. So this is also a little bit severe in ICOM Lebanon. We've been like this for the past years, to say that, no, you have to respect the definition of ICOM. And when you do this, you will be accepted at ICOM Lebanon. Yeah, exactly. I can consider that we are now almost 30, 40 museums related to ICOM Lebanon. We have also institutions which do not belong to ICOM Lebanon. We hope in the near future to be able to, to integrate them and help them to become real museums in the real sense of the word.
It's very important, that kind of networks that help each other, you know. And if you find at any moment that I can help in the mobilization, engagement of university museums in Lebanon, let me know, because I'll be delighted to have a Zoom session or something to, you know, to start discussing issues that, you know, are really specific about university museums, so that we don't, you know, continue the conversation is, but count on me if you find we can do it together. UMAC-ICOM-Lebanon.
And I will ask the director of this university to belong to UMAC.
I'll be delighted.
This is the first step.
Yeah, I'll be delighted to do that. And of course, there's this emergency, but later on, and we could actually use the emergency as a point of departure for a network. That would be very nice. Of course, one of the things that happens in universities is universities don't only have museums. They have collections sometimes in departments. They have collections that are used for teaching and research today, that are probably some of them abandoned because they were used, but now they are not used, but they are not yet in the museum. You know, so there's all these variations of a spectrum, a broad spectrum of sizes and institutional frameworks and so on. And one of the things that worries me, and I already explained this to Gilbert and the team, is that most likely there are university collections. So in these two universities, especially the Saint Joseph, which the campus was closer to the explosion, but also the AUB, I'm sure there are collections, herbaria, you know, small zoology collections, scientific instruments collections, mostly scientific, but also, but not only, artistic, could be also photography, archives, that are very much under the radar, okay? Is there a way that we could do a survey, just to see if they have been impacted, if they need help, and is there a way of including them? Of course, they're not museums, okay? But is there a way of including them in this mega effort that is being done? What is your view?
It has been, in a way, we did it. Gilbert went to see the rest of the universities and to check whether the collections were good or not. So he did this first job in a way. But as we said, in the second phase, maybe after we will, let's say, be comfortable with the situation, we could at that moment start working on the situation of these collections and see if they want to be integrated at that moment in UMAC, or we would see what is the procedure to do it.
I was not even worried about UMAC. I was just worried that they are included in the effort of reconstruction, because You understand? Because they may be so, sometimes they're so hidden, you know, they're really in attics, basements, offices of professors, you know, and they get outside the big efforts, because we tend to think sometimes only of museums.
It's completely true, because I mean, in some institutions, you have even, it's an issue to help them.
I know.
Believe me, it's difficult because you have to go through an administrative procedure, which is very complicated.
Yeah.
And in fact, they would tell you, we don't want to be helped.
Yeah, well, if
So
they
we
don't, they
should find
don't.
a way. No, they don't want to be helped because it's too much work or too
Yeah.
much, it's too complicated.
Yeah, but it's
And this is
sometimes,
why.
yeah, but sometimes we can help. It can
Yeah,
really
sure.
facilitate, right? And it's not so much work for them, because I mean, yeah, we can do that. But anyway, I was just wondering, and you know, trying to keep in mind that I think that important, because it's not so much the size of the institutional framework, cadre, it's more the value, the, you know, the significance, scientific, artistic, of the objects and the collections, and you know, so that's what we should care about.
I did this. I called one of the professor at the Lebanese university. I said, please, we will put you on all our meetings and join us. And I know because I work with him from the Meme Museum,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
this is not, let's say, the issue. I said, please be with us.
yeah,
And even if you cannot be helped at the first part, we will be able to do it on the later on.
yes,
If at the beginning you cannot enter because you belong to an institution, and that your institution will have will say that no, you need
yeah,
whatever to do to to be able, let's say, to be part of this help. But
yeah,
it can be done.
can be
I
done.
do
Yeah,
believe in the contact. We have to
yeah,
talk to each
yeah,
other, and this is maybe the first thing to do, and
yes.
then everything will be
Yeah, and
okay.
maybe in the meanwhile we can, you know, create some network, because I really would like to see some mobilization of university. I would like to, you know, I would like my wishes, and then you tell me your wishes. My wishes would be that in like 1 year, we could give more visibility, international visibility, to university museums and collections of Lebanon in general, not only the ones in Beirut. In general, I would like, you know, that they could participate more in our conferences, especially now that is all, you know, digital, or at least in the next 2 years it's going to be digital. I would like them to apply to the UMAC award. We give an award for recognizing excellence and innovation. We would like them to be more visible in the, you know, among our colleagues from all over the world. And that would be my wishes, you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, as you said, since you are going to be, everything will be on a virtual level, it will make it easy for
Yeah,
them to
yeah,
participate, because in the past it was also difficult
I know,
to
I
get
know,
the money to travel and go and participate to
I know.
seminars.
Yeah.
No, hopefully this is a good thing.
And what about your wishes, to finalize, you know, what, when you look into in 1 year as chair of ICOM-Lebanon, what would you like to happen in 1 year and in 10 years? So what would you like? What are your wishes for the museums of Beirut and in Lebanon, or Lebanon in general?
I would like them to work together. Sorry to say it this way, you know, sometimes you have to forget about the ego of your institution. I'm not going to talk about the personal ego, because you have sometimes to go beyond the institution, your own institution, and start working with the others. When we will work, when we will learn to work together, we will be able to create something bigger and something more solid. Otherwise, we will be only, you know, as you say, elements gathered in a room, and maybe having the same label. So this is why my wish is really to be able to create a collaboration between all these museums, whatever are the specializations, whatever are the differences. If there's no big museums and small museums, we are all museums, and so this is why we belong to a network. I keep on. I like very much this label of ICOM now. It's a network of c'est un réseau, as we say in French, and this is what is very important.
Yeah. A réseau of people, of objects, of ideas, of cultures, of traditions, histories, stories to tell. And so it brings all together. And that's what museums do. I mean, you could not have closed our conversation in a better way. Well, I wish you the best on behalf of UMAC and all the members of UMAC and the UMAC community. I wish you the best. You can trust that we will continue to work together for the benefit of museums in Beirut and more generally Lebanon. And I hope to see you soon in person, because I'm really, it's building in my mind that I'm traveling to Beirut soon. So we will see. And yeah, let's talk more and count on us for everything that is needed, Suzy.
Thank you very much, Marta. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure to feel that we are together in this issue.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you also to all our viewers. And hang on, stay tuned, because there will be more episodes from Beirut, because we will stay attentive and we will continue to follow the situation there and continue to collaborate and contribute. Thank you so much.